Hello, hello, and hello. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome to episode 5. I cannot believe it's already, but we're already on the 5th episode already. This is the 5th episode of my Zelda podcast, the Kokiri Chronicles. This is a little fun Zelda-themed podcast where I get to do this every third day of the month. So, I can't believe it's already been 5 episodes already. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to those on my YouTube channel. And also, as we are live doing this on Twitch, which of course this will be uploaded to YouTube the next day. Which, by the way, if you guys are watching this over on YouTube, please don't forget to do the following by liking, sharing, definitely subscribing to the channel. Of course, you guys also got to subscribe to the channel for more amazing Zelda content, as I love being able to do this every third day of the month. It's always so fun. But also, tell your friends, though. But most importantly, come say hi to me. Come say hi to me over on my Twitch channel. I stream every Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. Central over on my Twitch channel under the same name, Born of Kokiri. So be sure to go ahead and do so if you haven't. Hopefully I will see you on Twitch. But also, anybody in my stream chats, anyone on my Twitch chat, let me know if the music is good. Make sure it's not too loud or too quiet, especially when my friendos are talking, as I will definitely get to them in a second. But looking at Twitch chat, I see Paul's there. Welcome in, Paul. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome. So anyway, y'all, so for today, so last month, Paul says, I hear no music. Do you have the stream turned down? Do you have the stream turned down? He says, I hear no music. Paul says he hears no music. Really? I hear you, but you hear no music. The tempo time is, okay, so also Vian says from, in Twitch chat that the music's playing. Okay, so the music is playing. Okay. Thank you, Vian. Thank you. Thank you, Vian. Thank you. Thank you for clearing that up. Thank you so much, because I know it was working before I started. I'm going to go ahead and give you a shout out. Y'all go follow Vian. Vian's a really, really great friend of mine. Please go check her out. But I hope you're doing well, Vian. So anyway, so last month, I was talking about the Great Flood of Hyrule from The Wind Waker. I had a lot of fun doing it. If you guys have not seen that episode, you should definitely go check it out. I had a great time talking about it. Definitely a big, major thing for all you Wind Waker fans out there. I would definitely recommend checking it out. So today, for this special episode, we are going to be talking about, definitely is, of course, it wasn't too obvious from my shirt from today. Yes, this is a shirt. This is not a costume. This is actually a shirt and my cap. We are, of course, going to be talking about my personal favorite incarnation of Link. And, of course, I'm not saying that because Ocarina of Time is my favorite game of all time. Or maybe I am, but honestly, you know what we're talking about. We are talking about the tragedy and the lifestyle of the Hero of Time. This Hero of Time has gone through a lot. So for tonight's episode, we're going to talk about it. But, however,
yeah,
I'm not doing this alone. In fact, I'm actually not doing this alone. I got my friendos here. Say hello, y'all.
Yo, yo.
Hello, hello.
Anybody in Twitch chat, let me know if you guys can hear them. Let me sure that, please let me know about the music is not louder than they are. And also let me know if the music is hearable. Well, of course, I know Vian said earlier, Vian said she can definitely hear the music, so that's great. But anyway, how are you guys doing today?
Well, we're doing fine. Just here to take over your entire stream.
Oh, really? Is that so?
Also, here, we'll take it from here, bud. You can sit the rest out.
Okay. I'll just bail then. I'll just sit here then.
Yeah, just exit the room. It's our show now.
Oh, absolutely. Also looking at Twitch chat, Fat Luigi, welcome on in, and Amber, welcome in too. Hello.
Welcome in, everybody.
Now ours.
Okay, so anyway, so we're gonna go one at a time, and you guys can go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us what y'all do on Twitch. So starting with my good friend and mod, Sora.
All right. So most of y'all already know who I am, but for those who don't, I mostly stream JRPGs, Kingdom Hearts, Legend of Zelda, series like that. I also have a series I do specifically on Thursday where I play games from my childhood. So, aside from that, I dedicate the rest of my content to the other to the other franchises I mentioned.
Nice. And also definitely go check out Sora. Sora definitely happens to be the biggest Paper Mario fan I know out there.
Yes.
All right. And next, we're turning on to the show from back in April when we talked about the moon from Majora's Mask. Giving up for the man, the myth, the legend, Landy, over from the Landy Lodge.
Ready?
What's going on, everybody? So I'm Landy, host of the. I've got all things gaming. We mostly keep it focused on the RPG genre. We will bring up Zelda every now and again, but primarily we talk about the series Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy. Little Persona throw in there, begging for crumbs from the Soul Calibur team, but that's another conversation for another day. That said, you can find me on YouTube and Twitch. YouTube, the videos and the podcast. Twitch, you're going to find the streams and the podcast. And, that's really just about it. We try to keep the vibes good, to make the waits for all these games easier by talking about lore and theories and archetypes and mythological influences. I just think there's so much to talk about for so many of these franchises that we've been given that, it's just a good time. And, I love coming on here, Kokiri. I had a great time last time, and I'm looking forward to it again.
Absolutely. And guys, honestly, without a doubt, this is your man right here. Or, there we go, where my fingers pointing at. Go check him out. Honestly, I recommend him for anything Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy. He's the guy. Also, big shout out to him being the Million Dreams Award winner for Theories and Lore for Kingdom Hearts. And then
that's a little shout out for that too. But, yeah, I'm done.
And then last but not least, he's definitely a new friendo of ours, but he's definitely been here in the channel for a while. You've seen him in other places. Honestly, a Final Fantasy master, given up for Bahamut, aka Dark Bahamut.
Salutations, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I'm Dark Bahamut. I variety stream, mostly Final Fantasy, as you can tell from my name, and Final Fantasy 9, of course, being my favorite, as you can tell. I also do a lot of Kingdom Hearts, and I like to think I know quite a bit. Not as much as Landy, of course, God forbid. But I also obviously stream on Twitch, and I do some YouTube things. So hopefully you guys will check that out with that. But I mostly love a lot of stuff like Resident Evil as well, Metal Gear, Devil May Cry, all sorts. So it's great to be here with my friends Kokiri and Sora, and of course new friend Landy Lodge. So hopefully we'll keep things entertaining.
Excuse me. Yeah. Anyway, definitely go follow all my friendos on Twitch. Definitely go follow them. Go give them your love and support. I'm sure they would greatly appreciate it. So guys, why are we here today?
We are here to cause chaos in your chat.
As usual.
Forget about the tragedy of the hero time. That's not important. We're just here for chaos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So before we get into the juicy stuff, I'm gonna ask you guys one at a time. What was the first game that introduced you guys to the hero of time, and what is your favorite Zelda game that stars him? So starting with you, Sora.
My first game that introduced me to the hero time was actually the first Zelda game I ever played in general, which was Ocarina of Time.
Yes.
And my favorite game starring the hero time is Majora's Mask.
Ooh, good choices, good choices. Absolutely, that was, of course, you guys heard me before. Majora's Mask was the first Zelda game I ever owned. I actually still own my golden cartridge, the holographic one, but the first Zelda game to where I was introduced to the hero of time was, of course, Ocarina of Time. And, of course, obviously, my favorite Zelda game starring him is obviously Ocarina because, best game ever made. But, Landy, what about you?
All right, so the first time I was introduced to the hero of time was Ocarina of Time, but it was actually when I was really young. I must have been 4 or 5 years old, and I pretty much had to watch my older brother play it. But I felt so immersed by Ocarina of Time as a kid, to the point I was having both dreams and nightmares about it from a very young age. And I actually remember both of those quite fondly. With that being my first sort of impression of the hero of time, obviously Ocarina of Time became the first Zelda game I ever played, first Zelda game I ever beat, but it's Majora's Mask, man. There's just something about that game. I could go on and on about what it is. You know, we talked about, you know, some moon theories last episode, Kokiri. So I suggest you guys check that out if you want to hear me muse about Majora's Mask. But I absolutely love and adore Majora's Mask. And the Hero of Time story is a special one because we'll get into this today. I'm a big fan of heroes you don't want to be. You know what I mean? That's a big thing for me because I think that's a real hero. Anyone could want to be a Hercules, right? And get you know, broadly speaking, get the glory, be like super muscular, be the son of a god, all of that, you know, like that. There's something to that. There's a lot of value in that. Don't get me wrong. Something to strive towards, right? That's who Hercules is. Someone to strive towards. But there's something about the Batmans of the world, the Hero of Times of the world, where these people are so heroic and self-sacrificing, and they go through so much where it's like, man, I do not want to be this person. Not because they aren't heroic or virtuous, but because anything they have to give up, I'm not sure I have it in me to do it. So yeah, that's just my spiel on it.
Nice. I love it. And Bahamut, what about you? What was the first Zelda game that introduced you to the Hero of Time? And what is your favorite Zelda game that stars only him?
That of course will be the first Zelda game I ever played. Introduced me to the series was Ocarina of Time, original cartridge on the N64.
Yes.
And my favorite game is of course Ocarina of Time. It would be Majora's Mask, but that game confuses the heck out of me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good game, but it's also, you know, it's also really deep. It focuses on a lot of very unique, deep topics for a game that's actually really dark.
Oh yeah.
As much as I love Majora's Mask, I cannot recommend that be anybody's first Zelda game because of how cryptic it is.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
I love that game
I
to
could
pieces,
not agree
but
more.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
And like Landy said as well, I too also like the whole like heroes that don't want to be heroes thing. Like I've seen a lot of Link's later games links to expressions.
Oh, absolutely.
He doesn't ever look like he wants to be the hero. He looks like he's always got a humble look on his face. You know, like he's just doing what he thinks is right. You know, and I think that's great.
Exactly, and definitely we are going to get into that. And speaking of that, I want to ask you guys personally, though. So, starting with you, Sora, how do you think this incarnation of Link stands out in comparison to the other incarnations, like the new guy in the block, Hero of the Wild, Hero Twilight, Hero Wind, Hero of Legends? How does this one stand out to today in comparison to all the other Links?
So, I guess in comparison, especially for the 3D Zelda games, it's not as much to compare to because it's where it started. I would more so compare the newer games to Ocarina of Time, since Ocarina of Time started the whole 3D Zelda trope.
This is
like
true.
That.
Mm-hmm.
So, but looking at it from that perspective, I think just on its own, stands out perfectly. You know, he starts out as just normal boy, living in the Kokiri Forest. He doesn't know he's a Hylian, obviously, because of obvious reasons. But he's just, you know, living his life, doing his thing. Next thing you know, he finds out he's having to basically save the Deku Tree from a curse and then get the Spiritual Stone. And then he has to go to Death Mountain and then Zora's Domain. And then do stuff to get the Master Sword. And then next thing you know, he finds out he's the Hero of Time. He was just a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Literally just a little boy. Didn't know anything about Destiny or whatever, and then he finds out he literally has to save an entire kingdom from an impending doom because Ganondorf wants to just take over everything. And when you think about it, he really didn't have much of a childhood.
He really didn't.
Got robbed away from him. His whole childhood got robbed away from him because of something he never asked for. Kind of out of the blue.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the fact that he was willing to step up to the plate despite that just shows how amazing of a character he really is.
Mm-hmm.
Because most people in his position, they would have bickered and griped and complained and be like, no, I didn't ask for this. I don't want to be no hero. I don't want to go save this kingdom. Let somebody else do it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this Link definitely has been through a lot.
Yeah, he's been through a heck of a lot, but case in point, absolutely amazing hero. One of the best incarnations of Link in history.
Great. And how about you, Landy? How does this Link stand out in comparison to all the other incarnations, including the new guy himself, the hero of the wild?
Well, I kind of want to echo a little bit of what Sora was saying there, because I think that actually what makes him stand out is that this Link doesn't have much of a childhood. And I think the only one that can really compare to that is maybe the Hero of the Wind, but there's still some differences between the two, right? All right, let's start with Hero of Twilight, right?
Yeah.
He grew up as a farmhand, you know, he had kids who looked up to him, neighbors who thought he was cool, you know, he had hometown girl next door trope going on. Like, Hero of Twilight had a very comfortable looking upbringing. You know, the Hero of the Wind, he had his sister around, had his grandma around. Like, Hero of the Wind actually had family, which that's very unique to Link, is to actually grow up with your family around, at least as far as 3D Zeldas go. Then you have, you know, Skyward Sword Link, who he's growing up. He gets to go to, you know, Zelda's got a crush on him. He grows up next to Zelda. I'm just saying, like, when you compare this Link to the other Links, he grew up in the forest. He was an outcast. Mito was always bullying him. You know, he was the boy without a fairy. He's a tough one, man, because it's like, it goes into what I was saying earlier, where you really feel for the guy. And he stands out because I also think he embodies that silent protagonist the best. You know, this is something, Bahamut, you were bringing up in sort of your opening statement is, you know, the future Links are more expressive. You can see the burden that they're carrying, especially Skyward Sword Link.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Hero of Time kind of just, he takes it with a stoicism. Stoicism that you can't buy. You know, there's something about that, and he's an interesting figure, man. I just think he's the most tragic of the heroes, and I think that's ultimately what makes him stand out.
Oh, absolutely. And what about you, Bahamut?
Well, going along with what Sora and Landy said, I fully agree. Like, I see him as he's most notable because of it's really the first time the Triforce of Courage has had that big of a role. Like, usually it's just an item for Link to get.
Yeah.
But in Ocarina of Time, Link actually getting the Triforce of Courage imparted to him when he obtains the Master Sword, it actually gives him like a form place in the cycle. You know, like we could see that his cycle, that he's always going to have that courage. You know, like, and I feel that Ocarina of Time was a great point of that to show, you know, that's what Link's always going to have. He's always going to have the courage to, as Landy said, be stoic and be the hero that people need, even though he doesn't really seem like he wants to be it. And
yeah.
It's like, you know, and like even Breath of the Wild has could technically has a reference to this as well in you know, like when we see that expert except in that book. Obviously, I won't spoil what it is because people haven't read Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, Link chooses to silently bear all burdens because that's what he feels he needs to do. And, like, that, to me, that's what Ocarina of Time Link does as well. The courage to stay strong, stay stoic, stay silent, and just do what needs to be done.
Exactly. I honestly agree with all three of you. You know, honestly, you know, like, knowing, like, in comparison to all the other Links out there throughout the Zelda series, like, this one really stands out. He's been through a lot of stuff, you know, like kind of like what Landy said, you know, this Link, this Hero of Time started off as a complete outcast, you know, and then fate chose him to act so quickly when he was just a little boy, and then, you know, then he gets thrust into 7 years into the future, and then he's in this grown-up bot, and then he's forced to grow up so fast, so he's in this adult body, but in his mind, he's still a kid. And then, of course, later on, you know, he defeats an evil king. And then he gets thrusted into another land, a parallel universe, where he puts that land first before himself, while he's off, you know, going on to go on this quest to go find his lost friend Navi. And then later on, of course, we will get to this later, you know, about the tragedy of his new role as the hero Shane and how he was deceased in all this. But that is definitely his one we will get to later. But honestly, comparison to all the Links out there, this is definitely the most memorable. He really displays excellent courage as a hero. I mean, all the other Links do. But this one demonstrates courage just perfectly. And he's a great role model.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, something I noticed as well in Majora's Mask, obviously we said about his courage. Like, courage can also be seen as being kind, like kindness as well. And it's
Yes.
the fact that Link goes into this parallel world of Termina. He has no clue about any of these characters, who they are or anything, and yet he's still got the courage to be kind and help them, even though he knows nothing about them. Like, I think it speaks a lot for his character.
Exactly. Definitely, exactly. So anyway, we're gonna dive into some of the juicy stuff. So we are gonna, of course, talk about his early life, and then we are also gonna talk about each of the 3 timelines to where he is involved. So let's go in and talk about his early lifestyle. So one thing in particular that we know, and I'm sure you guys remember, so after Link actually conquers the Forest Temple and he frees Saria, who now takes on the role and responsibility as a Sage of Forest, Link encounters the Deku Tree Sprout, which of course then he definitely states like, hey, just thought I'd let you know. You may think, you probably are wondering, the members of the Kokiri tribe, like Mito, the House of Twins, the Know-It-All Brothers, they don't recognize you, right? That's because you're not a Kokiri. You're a Hylian. The Kokiri were a tribe that obviously never grow up. Of course, they're starting all this Neverland Peter Pan shit again. But going back to lifestyle, we can state, according to the Deku Tree Sprout, that this Link, he actually did have a family. He definitely talks about like how there was a mother who carried a baby and brought her son to the Kokiri Forest and placed her under the care of the Great Deku Tree, and then she just suddenly died. But we don't know much. Of course, not much of Link's father is brought up, but there is one thing I do want to bring up, even though this is just an original story. So in the manga, the Deku Tree Sprout states that Link's father was actually served as a knight of the royal family of Hyrule. So honestly, probably in the actual game, we can probably theorize to say that probably, Link's father was a knight who served the royal family of Hyrule a long time ago and just died from a war or something, which honestly explains like his swordsmanship skills and being able to find the courage that he needs to do in order to do the right thing. But what are y'all's thoughts on that, on his early lifestyle?
It's honestly very.
Sorry.
I give the floor.
Go for it, Sora.
I was gonna say, it's very sad just knowing his early life, because during that whole war and everything, Link lost both of his parents.
Yeah.
He never even got to know his mom or his dad. We can sit here and make theories about it and everything, but in all reality, we know nothing about them.
Yeah.
Link was literally just a baby when he was entrusted to the Deku Tree. To top it off, on top of not knowing his parents, he was kind of bullied a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
And especially because of freaking Mito. I hate Mito so much.
Oh, trust me, we all hate him here.
Yeah, I want to putt Mito like a football, but that's a whole story for another day.
I don't know. Now I'm gonna jump in. I kind of like Mito.
Oh, really?
A little bit. You know why? Because he feels regret later in the game. You come back as an adult, and he feels a deep regret. And you know what? I appreciate people that can acknowledge when they were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I like Mito.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
But you were saying, Sora?
Yeah. I was just gonna say though, like at least during Link's childhood, Mito was terrible, and I mean terrible to him. Like, literally treated him like an outcast, and like most of the other Kokiri didn't even really talk to Link that much either. Saria talked to him a lot, but she was about the only one.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, what little childhood he did have was kind of a lonely one, aside from Saria. Because like, up until he had to go in the Deku Tree to save the Deku Tree from dying, which obviously failed, he didn't even have a fairy. He was the only kid in the entire forest without one. So he didn't even have a fairy companion to talk to.
No. He did not.
and I know Saria spent a lot of time in the Sacred Forest Meadow, like playing the ocarina and whatnot. So there's no telling how often he even got to talk to her. So he honestly had a very lonely childhood, not even knowing his parents, getting bullied by Mito, not getting to talk to the other Kokiri, aside from Sario every now and then.
Yeah.
Like, it's just sad.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's a really sad lifestyle. He's honestly, he's been through a lot. Landy, what about you? Your thoughts on Link's early childhood?
Actually, I love the fact that he sleeps a lot. That's a trope I really like. Because, I mean, dude, once you boot out that game, he does not sleep until Ganon is dead. You know what I mean? Like, that's why he's a sleepyhead, man. He was getting ready for the adventure. He was storing up all that sleep. But in all seriousness, I do love that, because it's like, what else was he going to do? Go out there and get bullied, go out there and be an outcast. He's, he had his little hut. He shacked up in there. I kind of like that he was the outcast, because the truth is, he is different than all the different Kokiri. And, what I think is really interesting about the Hero of Time is the thematic of growing up.
Yeah.
And every child's reluctancy to grow up. And how it's interesting that this Link, who was denied a childhood in more ways than one, it's like, of course he wouldn't have any reluctancy to growing up, because what childhood is there to go back to? And about the upbringing is, it makes sense why he'd be so attached to Navi, because he goes his whole life, he's the boy without a fairy, the boy without a fairy, the boy without a fairy. But then one day, he finally has a fairy, but it came attached to a destiny he didn't ask for. And then when his task was completed, his friend left. And it's like, of course he'd go through the Lost Woods looking for her again. It just, I love his backstory, again, not just for the hardship, but because it really does shape his character into the future, where you don't need to question anything that the Hero of Time is doing, because you understand exactly why he'd be so desperate to find Navi again.
Yeah.
Absolutely, though.
Yeah.
It definitely goes into a lot, and it goes into, like, deeper topics. It's like, being able to have that feeling, like, when you lose someone that you've valued and you treasured and you love so much, like having to lose somebody that close to you, it sucks. It really does suck.
Oh yeah.
But what about you, Bahamut?
Well, for Link's early life, even though it's non-canon, I like to refer to the Ocarina of Time manga. Like, for example, we see he gets the ocarina. We have no knowledge of whether or not he can actually play, but he's able to play the ocarina perfectly straight away.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't help but think of the Ocarina of Time manga, where him and Saria used to play the ocarina together, while her fairy danced around their heads. And I think, even if Link had gotten bullied, like Sora and Landia said, I think that he at least had some solace in the fact that he had at least one friend who was there for him no matter what. And I think that's helped shape him. That's helped shape him into the hero he was, because he knows that if he can at least affect one person's life positively, he's worth going on for.
Absolutely, yeah. Again, it definitely ties into a lot. I mean, I know the manga is not originally canon; it's just the original story. But I honestly do get where you're saying that, Bahamut. Being able to have that friend that you cherish and you just treasure and you just love so much, and then it's like, I mean, honestly, again, like I was saying earlier, having that feeling of just like having a friend who just straight up dishes you, it really does suck when you do, be honest.
Oh yeah,
it really does.
Well, especially when you consider that, like, that's just kind of the theme of the Hero of Time, especially in Ocarina, is every friend he makes leaves him. They become a sage, and even the ones who are left behind at the end of the journey, he gets sent back in time. No one remembers who he is. Nobody can thank him for the deeds he completed. Like, he's a ghost, man.
He really is.
He's just a ghost wandering Hyrule.
He
you
definitely...
see how they thematically play on that in Twilight Princess when it becomes a shade and stuff like that. But it's interesting, man. It's very interesting stuff.
It really is interesting stuff. It really, really is. Like, honestly, this Hero Time, he's definitely has been through a lot. in the three separate timelines that we definitely are going to get into though. Because honestly, we do know one thing we do need to know is that this Link, he was the one who was responsible for the timeline to split into three because the one thing we had to talk about is the Master Sword definitely put also in what Sheik says about it to Link is where Sheik tells him that you hold time in your hands. So that's definitely is very important to think about is time. So Link definitely has been carrying time in his hands the whole time. And with him being able to traverse back and forth into the past, into the future and all that stuff, definitely constant timeline to split definitely into three and just a lot of things definitely happened. But in result, some parts to where some things actually turn up good, and then some of them in the timeline to where actually don't end pretty well for him, to be honest. Which, by the way, I definitely want to get into the first timeline, the Fallen timeline. So, of course, we all know this is definitely what we call the imprisoning war, which is the timeline that starts off all the way from the top, starting with A Link to the Past, and then diving all the way to the bottom with Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Of course, that's a game we don't talk about in this household. Keep that in mind. That game... Exactly.
What game?
So in regards to the Hero of Time, so we know that it is definitely canonically confirmed that this Link died in combat against Ganondorf. We don't know how it happened. All we know is that he died. And then as a result, Princess Zelda and the rest of the sages, all they could do was do not much, but usually just use her magic and just seal Ganondorf away into the Sacred Realm. But however, there's one thing that they probably forgot. Ganondorf still inherited the Triforce of Power in his hand. I mean, it's kind of like how he says at the end of Ocarina of Time when he threatens Zelda and Link and the sages saying, I will break free from my imprisonment as long as I still inherit the Triforce of Power. So, when Ganondorf gets sealed away into the Golden Land, the Sacred Realm, he uses that power to contaminate it and poison it and transforming it into the world of his own image, which thus later on we know it as the Dark World from A Link to the Past. And then from there, he uses the most of his magic to turn into the beast, Ganon, that we know. But going back to how, I got a strong theory that I want to talk to you guys about Link dying. This is definitely, honestly, it's definitely one of the biggest mysteries of how did Link, the Hero of Time, actually die in combat against the Great King of Evil? Because we both know that, this Link was gifted the light arrows from Princess Zelda before she was captured and taken to Ganon's castle while he was in hot pursuit of chasing her. And then later on, he confronts the evil king, he climbs to the tower, and, off starts the fight. But what I'm getting at is the result of Link's demise. I feel like, to me, in my theory, this was more of a life or death situation. So kind of like, because we all know what Ganondorf wanted more than anything, along with bringing Hyrule into ruin and conquering it for his own, he wanted the Triforce. So that way he can touch it and grant a wish for his own. So to me, it was more like a life or death situation in my theory. So to him, it was just like, okay, if you take one more step, I will kill the princess, and I definitely will claim her Triforce, including yours, and take it as for mine. But however, if you agree to do what I say, I won't kill Zelda. I'll let her go, but I'm going to kill you instead. And I'll go ahead and take your Triforce piece, and then I'll take Zelda's, and then once my mission is done, and once you are dead and defeated, I'm going to take all three pieces of the Triforce, have them resonate together, and then the Triforce and Hyrule is going to be mine. So, because honestly, it's just kind of odd that that this Link would I want to say, give up, because it sounds really impossible for a man who definitely has a lot of strong courage, to just say, I'm just going to give up and then I'm just dead. But I want to know from you three, how do you guys think that Link died from Ganondorf in this fight before he got sealed
right.
away into the Golden Land.
I'm gonna put you on. I think this happened in the very beginning of the game where young Link confronts Ganondorf at the castle. I think maybe this is a young Link who didn't survive that confrontation, because that would explain why Ganondorf didn't get that Triforce of Courage just yet. That would explain how he didn't get the edge in the battle. Nobody opened the Temple of Time for him, right? Like, I think it works in the sense if Ganondorf killing Link becomes a mistake. And if he kills that young Link, then again, there's no way for him to get the Triforce of Courage. Nobody can open the Temple of Time for him. So it allows Zelda and some of the sages to make their move. Whereas opposed to killing that adult Link, it's like, I don't see how that Ganondorf just doesn't flat out win. Where he opened the Temple of Time, he has Hyrule Castle, he killed Link, he has 2 Triforce pieces. I like your theory. I like how you put it. That to me seems the most plausible. But I often believe the simple solution is often the likely one. So I really think it's a matter of him killing young Link, because that would be a mistake, right?
Yes.
I don't see him killing Link victoriously, because I just don't see how he can mess that up. He is a very cunning, smart, intelligent villain at the end of the day. So I have to believe it's that initial confrontation.
Honestly, I agree with you, Landy. It definitely does make a modest sense. Like why just wait and kill, a hero in a grown-up body when you can just go for just a literal child and just call it a day, and then just take the land and take the Triforce pieces and just call the land just mine.
Well, I kind of have a thought on that, actually.
Okay, what are your thoughts, Sora?
My thought. Well, first, with one of my thoughts, if it were me holding the controller, Link would have died from a lightning ball to the face. But that's just me. But in all seriousness, I don't think he would have waited. Or no, I don't think he would have killed Link in that first instance, and this is why I'm thinking that. Ganondorf wanted the Triforce of Power, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He needed the Door of Time to be opened and the Master Sword pulled from the seal to obtain it. And the reason for that is because without that, he had no access to the Sacred Realm. It was only when Link pulled the Master Sword and was sealed within the Sacred Realm for 7 years that Ganondorf was able to invade it and obtain the Triforce of Power, which was his ultimate goal. So, the way I see it, once he obtained that Triforce and everything, and, he became the ruler of Hyrule and everything, Link wanted to, do his thing, get the medallions, and then harness the power of the Triforce of Courage to stop him. But he ultimately lost the fight when he finally got to the tower. Whether it's by lightning ball to the face or he tripped and fell off the tower, who knows. So, in some way, I feel like he perished in that fight. Mostly because of the fact that if he had killed Link in his first initial meeting outside the castle town, before he even opened the Door of Time, he never would have been able to get the Triforce.
Yeah, exactly. Because like I was saying, when Ganondorf gets sealed away into the Sacred Realm, that's how he was able to turn into the Beast Ganon that we know in Link to the Past, is because he still has the Triforce of Power inherited within him. He still got it. But anyway, what about you, Bahamut? How do you think he died in the Fallen Timeline?
Well, my theory is that it happened a bit later, because obviously in the fight against Ganondorf, Dark Beast Ganon, Link obviously loses the Master Sword. Now, the Triforce of Courage can only take Link so far, because obviously Link doesn't actually know how to harness the power of the Triforce. He just instinctively knows he just instinctively stays courageous. My theory is that Ganon was able to beat Link after he knocked the Master Sword away, and that's how Link died, that he didn't have the blade that seals evil to protect him, and so he ended up getting killed because of it. And obviously Ganondorf then captures Zelda, takes her Triforce, add to the Triforce he's going to steal from Link, and then it's like Landy said, he's now got the Triforce, he's got the castle, he's got everything he needs. And yeah, that's my take on it, that Link died in that decisive battle after he lost his ultimate weapon.
Exactly. I really do think that, because like, it can be like, how was he able to die, because honestly, it's kind of like, I'm just going to take a little example. It's kind of like how in the final battle against Beast Ganon, where Ganon uses his sword and just swipes, like with one swing, just swipes the Master Sword out of Link's grasp, before, and of course, in that situation, I mean, of course, we all know the hero of time had to come up with something to distract Beast Ganon before you can get his sword back. But in that situation, to where, like, if Link actually lost his Master Sword and then just got slayed like that, it definitely would make a lot of interesting sense for a strong theory. But honestly, to this day, it still is a strong mystery as to how he actually died.
Yeah.
It definitely is a strong one. And then after that, we just don't hear from him again, of course, and that, of course, that takes on the control from the other incarnations who definitely, take him on. Of course, starting off with the hero of legend from Link to the Past.
Can I punch in one more thing?
Yes.
Just about that conversation. I also like the idea of it being the young Link who loses to him, because I don't like the idea that the Master Sword lost the battle. That's the blade of evil's bane. I almost feel like fate has determined that Ganon will fall to that blade.
Yes.
So I just wanted to punch that in. That I also think that keeping the Master Sword out of the hero's fall, I think, makes it an easier pill to swallow.
Oh, absolutely. I like that. I really do like that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I do like that.
Definitely fair.
Absolutely. So we all know this one was a real tragedy for just how this hero time actually died. So one thing though is that, of course, now we want to get on to we want to get down to the next timeline, the child timeline. Now, this timeline in particular, this one has a lot going on, and I mean a lot going on in this one. So let's kind of do a recap before we talk about it. So the child timeline, the hero time gets sent back by Princess Zelda into 7 years into the past to reclaim the childhood that he lost, the one that he didn't get to have. So we know at the ending of Ocarina of Time, we see, I mean, of course, like Landy said, like, he's literally a ghost. Like, nobody knows what he done. Nobody knows that, like, hey, you see Ganondorf? Yeah, I killed him. Nobody knows that. We don't know that.
That's the worst part. They'd be like,
nobody knows who we did it. And then when this young Link goes off to Hyrule Castle to confront Princess Zelda, he warns her about the events of Ganondorf coming. So I'm sure he pretty much told her, like, hey, I know you probably don't know me, but I gotta warn you. Ganondorf is coming to Hyrule. He says he's gonna come to Hyrule Castle. He says he's gonna swear allegiance to your father, the king. But in the end, all he wants to do, he just wants to come to Hyrule just to claim the Triforce for his own. And, of course, he's gonna kill your father as well. He's gonna kill your father, and he's gonna take over the land and claim it that is his. So, from here, we know that a young Princess Zelda is aware of this, and she even states in the in the beginning of of Link's memory from Majora's Mask, once Link picks up the Ocarina of Time that he gets back from the Skull Kid, she states, she says, I know we've just met, but I feel like I've known you for a really, really long time. There's really something very deep about that, where she says that to Link. She's like, I may not know who you are, but I feel like I've known you for a long time, and I remembered all the carefree days that we spent at the castle. Like, that's a really deep quote to think about. Really. And then from there, he sets off on his quest, because he's putting on the one mission that he had to do as soon as he got back. He wanted to go find his friend Navi, who just straight up abandons him. And then he ends up getting lost. He ends up in the Lost Woods, and then he gets attacked by the Skull Kid and his two fairies, Tattle and Tail. And then the Skull Kid definitely attacks the Hero of Time. He takes his Ocarina of Time, and Link is in hot pursuit chasing him. And then he falls down this massive ditch where he's in this parallel world that he is not familiar with. But before all that, he gets transformed into a Deku Scrub. And then that's where he meets his new companion, Tattle. And then from there, he stumbles off into the portal, entering the parallel universe that's Land of Termina. And this is when we get to meet, and this is when he meets one of the most craziest and goofiest characters of all time, the Happy Math Salesman. Now, there's something very deep about him. You know, he definitely seems he seems to know a lot more than meets the eye. Because when he confronts with the hero time, he definitely states, you know, please note that, of course, you know, I've actually have been following you. We gotta know, this is the same man who ran the Happy Math shop over in the Hyrule Castle Market. This is the same man. So, you know, he definitely informs Link about how he got Majora's Mask, how he was able to get it in his possession, how he's tasking Link to get it in 3 days before he moves on. So, and then he, of course, you know, he goes on this mission. So he puts his mission. So he puts a mission of saving the people of Termina first before going on to the mission to go find Navi. So, you know, I'm gonna go protect this land. I'm gonna go stop Skull Kid, get Majora's Mask back, and then I'm gonna carry on what I was doing, and I'm gonna go find Navi. Hopefully I will go find her. So once that is done, he saves the land of Termina. We see that he definitely ends up back in Hyrule, because we can see that he ends up in the Lost Woods. And from there, it's still a really strong mystery, because we don't know what happened to him, you know, because the thing is, you know, from this time, you know, at this time, you know, he doesn't have a home to go to, because Saria's gone, you know, Hyrule is like in peace, Ganondorf is just somewhere out doing something. But one thing we can probably know, and I feel like I read about this somewhere, was, and I could be wrong, if you ever to correct me on this, but when Link was in Termina, Ganondorf actually came to Hyrule, and he attacked it. And he attacked Hyrule. And this is definitely way before he got sealed away for his execution, which of course dives into the one being in Twilight Princess. But now, after the events of Majora's Mask, we don't know what became of this hero time. A lot of people theorize that this guy actually lived on his life. But we can actually confirm that in Twilight Princess, the hero Shade, that is legit him. That is the hero of time himself in that clad of armor. We don't know how he got it. We can probably theorize that he probably served, you know, as a royal knight of Hyrule. And he was probably one of Hyrule's best chosen warriors, which explains the golden armor and the shield and the sword. But one thing to note is that, is he a Stalfos when he's dead? No, he is not a Stalfos. But we can tell from, like, beyond that clad of armor, like right where his chest is where he's mostly is slashed. So we don't know what killed him. How did he actually die? My theory is he probably got into another confrontation with his dark counterpart, Dark Link. It could have been that, because it honestly, with that slash like that couldn't have been like a beast who did that. It's got to be someone or something, like a creature who's definitely is more powerful. But this hero of time has gone through a lot. We don't know like what his lifestyle is like. You know, a lot of people theorize that he moved on and started, you know, a lot of people tend to theorize this, that we all know that the hero Twilight is a descendant of the hero of time. A lot of people theorize that the hero of time married not Princess Zelda, but the cute little farm girl Malon, which explains why the hero of time's descendant also inherits, you know, the emblem on his left hand. How is he able to know Epona's song? You know, it's like part of the bloodline. But when the hero of Twilight, you know, confronts the hero Shade as a golden wolf, you know, he teaches on his life lessons and like passes on the stuff that he learned when he was a hero. And honestly, I definitely want to get onto a couple of the quotes that the hero Shade actually says to his descendant, the hero of Twilight. So here's some of my quotes that I feel like were important. So here's the first one. Those are only for one who carry the blade of the hero, the one whose spirit is that of the sublime heart. A sword wields no strength unless the hand that holds it has courage. Remember those words. And here's another quote. Believe in your strength. Continue to push forward unflinchingly and without strain from your path. So to me, with this quote real quick, before I get to the other one, this definitely was a life lesson to me that he learned from the Happy Mask salesman during his time in Termina. Because when Link feels like, oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this to get Majora's Mask map, but I will try. But there's one thing we got to know from the Happy Mask salesman that he tells the hero of time. He says, and I quote, "Believe in yourself, believe in your strengths. Believe." That is so definitely remember that. And then the last quote he says after the hero Twilight learns the great spin attack, where he says this: "Although I accepted life as the hero, I could not convey the lessons of that life to those who came after. At last, I have eased my regrets." But definitely, I am definitely curious. What do y'all have to say about all that? Starting with you, Sora.
My thoughts mostly go towards like kind of what the hero Shade said there. If you think about it, it's even more tragic.
Yeah.
What even I thought, because like it goes back to the whole thing where he basically had no choice but to step up as the hero because of everything that he went through. But even realizing now after death, he didn't really grasp fully what it meant.
Yeah.
The position he's in now, he's trying to pass what he knows onto the hero of Twilight, who is, of course, the current hero, and he's the successor to the hero of time, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Landy, what about you? From like all the way from Majora's Mask to Twilight Princess and the hero Shade.
There's a lot of questions, right? So it's like he wasn't able to pass it on. So it's like, okay, this is the thing, right? And maybe you guys can help me out with this. Has it ever been confirmed that every hero of legend is connected via a bloodline, or do you just sort of become a spiritual successor?
It definitely.
I interpret it as the latter.
Yeah,
I think it's more of a spiritual.
Yeah.
It's more spiritual successor. Yeah, because I can definitely note is that, of course, we'll get to that later. Is that the hero wins? He's definitely is not blood related to the hero of time, but in spirit he shares his courage.
That's what I was looking for there. So this isn't indicative about, like, we can't conclude anything from his later life about this, right? So we can't conclude, like, oh, he never got married, he never had a kid, never passed on his lessons. We really can't conclude any of that. But what I guess we can conclude is he probably died younger than he should have, right? He didn't get to open some sort of sword academy or some sort of dojo. He never made it to a point he could pass his lessons on. I honestly, and I've always kind of thought this, I just think the hero of time spent his days in the Lost Woods until it, not like in a lost sense, but like that's where Saria makes him think of Saria. It makes him think of the Kokiri Forest. It makes him think of Navi. It just seems like the closest thing he has to a home. So that's what I can gather from that. I do love that the Happy Mask salesman reference in there. The power of belief, the strength of believing.
Yep.
And yeah, ultimately, I guess it's where's the first place you run into him in Twilight Princess?
That would be in the that would be in the Faron Woods.
My point exactly. That to me is just I think he just accepted that was his home, and I think he just lived in solitude.
Exactly. And what about the quotes that I read earlier?
Well, it's like I was saying before. I definitely see the Happy Mask salesman's lessons were passed on to him. So I think, I know there's a lot of rumors and not rumors, but theories surrounding Majora's Mask. And did Link die then? Is it a dream? Is it a purgatory? Is it? I think it genuinely happened. I think it kind of confirms that there was something real about that journey. And that Link clearly inherited those lessons. I think the other cool thing about this is those quotes That's like the first time we see Link talk.
Yeah.
Technically, I mean, Majora's Mask Link when the thief steals the bomb bag is a point for that, but it's almost jarring that it's like, oh my god, Link is talking to me.
Yeah.
Hero of Time in death found his voice in a sense, and I do think there's something cool about that.
Yeah.
What about you, Bahamut, in terms of all of this? Oh, yep.
Going with what Sora and Landy said, yeah, I believe, he definitely learned lessons from the Happy Mask salesman. You know, he learned to maybe enjoy life as more than he did, and like Landy had a very good point as well with the Lost Woods, because a theory that I had is obviously the Hero Shade. You said that he's not a Stalfos. The thing is, he does actually resemble one. So I've always had a theory that he took like near the end of his life or something, he went back to the Lost Woods so he could die in a place that he called home. You know, and obviously that we know in Ocarina of Time, when adults wander into the Lost Woods for too long, they become a Stalfos.
Correct.
But I can't help but feel that the Hero Shade became a Stalfos, but because his courage and his power of belief and his will was so strong, he still kept his semblance of himself, and that's why he appears to the Hero of Twilight in the way he does. And yeah, again, with the like you guys have said, with the ease of regrets as well, like he wants to be able to pass on the lessons he couldn't do. And again, I think that might just also like tie into why his spirit still lingers as well, because in a way, as the hero, like no children, no married, and it is honestly quite sad.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think there's definitely like a lot you can kind of digest there as well.
Oh, absolutely. And one thing I actually want to point out, you guys, in terms of detail, let's talk about, what do you think probably attacked this Hero of Time in the golden clad armor that we see as the Hero Shade? Huh? No, go ahead, Landy.
I just wanted to punch one thing in from earlier because Bahamut had me thinking on this. That is so. There's something actually really beautiful about this, because him having these lingering regrets and needing them passed on, this connects him to everyone he helped in Majora's Mask. He ended up just like them, and he needed his successor to relieve him of those regrets in the same way he relieved everyone who came before him of the same thing. I don't know. I never made that connection before, that his soul ended up needing the same kind of help all those souls from Majora's Mask did, and that it was his own successor that alleviated him of that. I just want to point that out, because when Bahamut was talking, and like after all these years, that actually just connected.
It really does make a lot of sense.
If I may as well.
Yes, absolutely.
I just remembered something Landy said as well about Link like finally talking in Twilight Princess. Something that actually brought to mind as well. Like, I think that we see him talking to Twilight Princess because at that time he feels that he doesn't need to silently bear all the world's burdens anymore. He can finally take the weight off his shoulders and pass the torch onto someone else.
That's really deep. I like that.
Yeah, that is very deep.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I actually do like that. But yeah, so for now, here's one thing I actually want to point to detail. The golden armor. Of course, how did he get it? How did he actually get it? I mean, like I was saying earlier, we could probably theorize that, he probably served as a royal knight of Hyrule. But what could y'all think possibly like attacked him? Because if y'all look at his clad of armor, right below his chest, there's like a big slash right there. Like, it could have been a creature or somebody. And then on top of one of his horns on his helmet, one of them is completely chopped off. And another thing we know is that this Hero of Time, he's missing an eye. That was something that, of course, most of us were not expecting. This Hero of Time is missing an eye. So he probably must have gotten into some strong combat with somebody. But one possible theory that probably could be, to me, is Dark Link. Because one thing I know, because when y'all think about it, in the Water Temple, Dark Link was like a dark counterpart of who he was. This was like a test to see if he is worthy of being the hero, because, you know, the Dark Link, it's him. Because one thing to know, and I'm sure some of y'all probably don't know, this actually is a really cool fact, by the way. So, since obviously Dark Link is, well, you, no matter how many heart containers you have, he has the same amount as you do. So if you were to have like 12 heart containers, he has the exact same amount, because again, he's you. But anyway, but my theory is, you know, it could have, do you think maybe this could probably be something maybe Dark Link could have done? Like it must have been like a trauma from like when he encountered Dark Link in the Water Temple, when he could have been like maybe like a beast or a creature or somebody. I mean, we can't say it was Ganondorf who did it, you know, but it's got to be at least somebody or something must have did that to him. Like the cost of like slashing and attacking the hero time, chopping off that piece of the horn on his head, even having the hero time to lose an eye. And one thing, important detail, and I'm sure you guys have picked this up, the hero shade, part of him, like for where his arms are and where he got attacked, he's covered in leaves. He's got leaves. So when he probably died, he was buried somewhere. But before all of that, you know, he was able to pass on, you know, some of his weapons that used to belong to him. Like, for example, like one of the Goron elders in Twilight Princess tell the hero of Twilight, like, the hero's bow used to belong to a hero of old. Of course, we are referencing to the hero of time. And even one of the light spirits, like when Link gets his tunic, saying like this garb actually once belonged to a hero of old. So I want to know, like, who or what do y'all think actually attacked Link? Like the cost of like what happened to him, and how did he get that armor and all that special gear?
Well, if I may start off.
Sure.
What you said. I think obviously, you know, you said earlier he became a knight in a royal knight.
Yes.
My guess is that he became a high-ranking like captain or something, and that's why he has the golden armor. Like,
yes.
In medieval times and stuff like that, it wasn't far-fetched for high-ranking knights to be gifted custom-made armor as a sign of their promotion of their station.
Yes.
So that could have been the same for Link. And as for the Dark Link bit, I since you've been talking about that, I've actually been thinking, I reckon it got to a point where obviously at that point Link is so strong, he's so good of a knight, and obviously Dark Link mirrors that.
Yes.
I think that it got to a point where him and Dark Link faced each other in battle one last time, and it took everything Link had just to beat him this time, and it finally took everything out of him just to do that final blow. And I think, like Dark Link killed him, but obviously like only like kind of like after Link managed to beat him, like, you know, kind of thing. Like it took everything he had just to finally beat his darkness.
Absolutely,
I do like that. Sora, what about you?
I'll be honest, I kind of got nothing on this subject. But Bahamut kind of covered a couple things I was already going to say. But other than that, I didn't really have anything. I like that whole bit right there that he said where, you know, Link became a knight and he ended up getting so strong to the point of having to face Dark Link one last time, and then while he finally overcame him, it cost him his life.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, what do you have to say about all this, Landy?
So as for who is responsible, I mean, anyone's guess is as good as mine. I guess if I had to guess, I'm gonna go with one of the wolves from the Lost Woods or Faring Woods, because then maybe that's why Link transforms into a wolf. Maybe some kind of connection was made there. But that is, in my opinion, grasping at straws. I think what interests someone like me about that whole paradigm is that typically in mythology, when one loses an eye, they gain wisdom. It's like you can no longer you give up seeing part of the material world to almost inherit the wisdom of the spiritual world. You see it with Odin in Norse mythology, you see it with Horus in Egyptian mythology.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Link is playing out. I think he, in a sense, gives up some of his I mean, any anime fans out there, you see with Roy Mustang and Full Metal Alchemist,
Yes.
you
Yes.
lose the sight of the world, but you gain the wisdom of the heavens, something like that, you know?
Yeah, and if I may, like Cyclops from Greek myth as well. They had one eye, but
Yes.
Yeah.
they could see the future.
Oh,
Yes,
absolutely.
exactly.
Yeah, that's really is something though, but you know, it can definitely like we were talking about, you know, it definitely ties into a lot of connection to like Greek mythology, like, you know, like you were saying Bahamut, you know, like Link could have been a royal knight of Hyrule, but he served as a high captain to where he got that golden clad of armor, and like the cost of his life was mostly in like one final blow against Dark Link. And that's how, you know, that what resulted with him, and he probably got buried somewhere in a place to where he can call home way before that he can, you know, he can rest and ease his regrets. Absolutely. So now that we've got that one down, there's one more timeline that we're going to talk about, and that is the adult timeline. So this timeline, this involvement with the hero time, Link is victorious in a fight against Ganondorf. Link actually wins. He defeats Ganon in a fight, and with the help of Princess Zelda and the sages, they use their magic, their powers, and they seal Ganondorf away. And from there, you know, he threatens Link and Zelda and the sages for his imprisonment, and then says like, you know what, I will find a way to break out, and once I do, Hyrule is going to be mine once again, as long as I have the Triforce of power. And then at the end, you know, Princess Zelda decides to make the decision for Link to put the Master Sword back in the pedestal of time and to keep the door to time closed. Because she knows, you know, Hyrule's been saved, Ganondorf's been sealed away, so with Hyrule, they don't need a hero anymore. Even though we all know that Link didn't want to go back home, but at this day and age, no one needed him, because, you know, they thought like okay, like, you know, Ganondorf's been sealed away, so there's no way he's gonna break out. So we all know that the hero time gets sent back into 7 years of the past, so where, to me, he ends up in the child timeline. So for this timeline, he's completely vanished. He's completely vanished from the timeline, and because of that, because at the end of Ocarina of Time, he loses everything. He loses the Triforce of Courage. He even loses his friend Navi, which honestly, because of the hero time's vanishment, is the result of why the Triforce of Courage in the Wind Waker splits into 8 different pieces. And even at the start of Wind Waker, they talk about the opening dialogue to where, you know, the hero time was victorious. He gave the land light. He defeats Ganondorf, and the people knew him as the hero of time. So with Hyrule being at peace once more, there was one thing that also happened. The seal of Ganondorf starts to weaken, and by using his magic that he had left, he's able to break out. And the one piece of dialogue, or a few pieces of dialogue that was in the opening story to Wind Waker is this, and I quote: "The people believed that the hero of time would come and save them, but the hero did not appear. And so they could do nothing but appeal to the gods." Because we all know, like, Ganondorf, you know, he comes back, he attacks Hyrule. Of course, we all know, according to the King of Red Lions, you know, this is the same Ganondorf that we knew from Ocarina of Time. And because of the result, you know, there was no hero to save him, or to save the people, to save the land. So there was one last resort. The King of Hyrule was aware about this. King Daphnis No Hansen Hyrule, which, of course, spoiler alert, we all know he's the King of Red Lions. So, in the result of this, he knows that Ganondorf is definitely going to come back to Hyrule to claim the Triforce of his own. And then what happens? He informs Princess Zelda, saying, you know what? I need you to go around Hyrule and tell every civilian out there to flee to the highest mountaintops. Because before all this, the King of Hyrule makes a wish for the great flood to appear. So we know for a fact that, of course, you know, he was able to, like, split the Triforce of Wisdom into 2 separate pieces, thus causing Princess Zelda to turn into the pirate girl we know as Tetra. And, somewhere out there in the land of Hyrule, the Triforce of Courage that the Hero of Time once inherited is now out there in the world and split into 8 different pieces. And then the land of Hyrule that we once knew Ocarina of Time is completely forgotten. It's now been flooded, by the golden goddesses of Hyrule. The water becomes completely unnatural to where not much of the races actually survives, and some were forced to evolve. Like the members of the Kokiri Forest, in order for them to survive, they had to force themselves to evolve and turn to the Koroks that we know. Same with the Zora. The water was unnatural, so even they couldn't survive. And the only way they could is they had to force themselves to evolve into the bird-like folk we know as the Ritos. And now, these people who fled into the highest mountaintops, all these mountaintops that was left over from the Great Flood became known as islands. And these places were remains of what we knew today from Ocarina of Time. And the old kingdom of Hyrule that was sunken in the bottom of the ocean, completely forgotten, and people definitely tend to forget about it. But going back to what I was saying, this hero time, he's completely vanished. Although the King of Red Lions definitely shares his wisdom and passes on to a new Link, to Hero Winds, who absolutely has no connection to the Hero of Time. He's not a blood descendant. I mean, in spirit, he definitely shares, his courage, because this Link, this Hero Winds, fate chose him to act so quickly when his sister gets kidnapped by a giant bird. And he goes on this quest to sail the seas and to defeat this evil king who broke out from his imprisonment. But honestly, it's quite a lot. Like, how do y'all feel about the Hero of Time permanently vanished from this timeline? Sora?
The only thing I can think of with him vanishing from this timeline is he probably died of old age, and his legend was just never really recorded, and as a result, no one really knew of him, and as time went on, he was just forgotten about.
Yeah, because go ahead.
I was gonna say that's honestly really all I got, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, what about you, Andy?
Well, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it honestly is a tough one. That's why that was all I could come up with.
No, you're okay.
Let me think on that a little bit more.
Okay, did you want me to pass it on to Bahamut next?
Pass on to Bahamut, circle back to me.
All right, Bahamut, what you got, buddy?
Well, I actually have been thinking a lot about this.
Okay.
I actually
yeah,
a
sure.
theory.
Yeah, sure. What you got?
Something that happens. Well, obviously we know Zelda sends Link back in time to enjoy the childhood he never had.
Yep.
The thing with this is obviously in order for him to be sent back, he has to go through what he did in the game.
Yep.
And my theory is that Zelda, by sending him back, she created a temporal loop that the Hero of Time got stuck in, separate from the actual timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And he's now forced to just keep on reliving that because there's no end to it since Zelda sent him back.
Yeah.
And because he's not in the actual timeline to be there when the Hyrule needs him before the flood.
Yeah.
That obviously causes Hyrule to be in danger from Ganondorf once again, and thus obviously necessitating the flood, the ensuing flood. At least that's my theory, that he's now trapped in that time loop where he's just basically in time purgatory because of it.
Yeah, exactly. And even though the Hero of Time has completely vanished, the story definitely carries on, and honestly, it kind of grows into a tradition because, like looking at the opening story of the Wind Waker, and even what Link's grandmother says, people like kids who become of age, just like the hero of old, are chosen to wear the green clothes. Like the role that this hero wins had to fulfill. He didn't get to pick this. This only happened because he put it. He was like, I don't want to wear these clothes. I know I'm already coming of age, but I don't think I'll be a little bit comfortable in these clothes. But now that I'm thinking about it, my sister has been kidnapped. I have to go save her. I'm actually am doing the right thing on what I have to do. So if that's what you want me to do, then I will go do it.
Yeah.
So here's where I get tripped up. So if I'm being honest, I'm going to avoid being a party pooper. I have always been skeptical of this particular timeline split.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why in the absence of further info, it seems like the Hero of the Wild, they intend to leave behind a lot of that timeline.
Yeah.
That aside for a moment, this is always what's tripped me up. That temporal paradox does throw me off. I like Bahamut's theory. I think there's credence to that. But I don't know. This is one of the things about the Zelda series that always stumps me.
Yeah.
When it comes to that three-way timeline split. I think, the first two, a hero falls and a hero who's victorious. There's something about that that's neat, clean. I like it, easy to understand. It's always been this third branch where I just, gives me a headache. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all.
It definitely is a lot, like especially like with all the other timelines, like to me, I personally do feel like that all these separate timelines were kind of like what if scenarios. What if the Hero of Time died? What if the Hero of Time got sent back into the 7 years to the past to reclaim the childhood that he didn't get to have? And then the last one in the adult, in the adult timeline, what if this Link was victorious, but for some reason, in order to get, to carry on his new lifestyle and now Hyrule's in peace, he had to give up and sacrifice a lot of stuff, such as losing the friend that he loved most, Navi having to give up the Master Sword by putting it back in the pedestal, closing the door time, but also losing the Triforce of Courage, which honestly is the result of the Triforce of Courage to be split into 8 different pieces. And then with this new Link coming into the play, of course, again, this hero, this task that he had to do, the Hero of Winds, he didn't get to choose this. He didn't have to choose this. He only did it because he cared about the people that he loved so much. I'm gonna go help these pirates. I will do everything that I can in my power to go save my sister. I mean, I may not know everything about this Hero of Time. I don't know exactly who he is. I know so little about him. But you know what? I will do everything I can to protect him. But there's one thing I actually want to bring up, though. A few of the Guardian... No, actually, all 3 of the Guardian deities in Wind Waker. The big red dragon Valoo who hails... the Sky Spirit Valoo who hails on top of Dragonroost Island. The Great Deku Tree. And even Jaban himself. They speak in the Hylian language. I actually wanted to bring that up. I was thinking about that when we were talking about this. So, in Hyrule language, they see, they definitely imply, even though the King of Red Alliance can fully translate it, but these 3 guardian deities, they imply that although that this Hero Wins is not the Hero of Time, they definitely know is that this Link definitely has a lot of connections to the Hero of Time in terms of carrying on, like something that this Hero of Time didn't get to have, carrying on his spirit of courage, But that is one thing I wanted to know is that those 3 deities, they even stated in both the first and second quest that you may look like the Hero of Time, but you're not him.
It's something adding to that as well. It's interesting you said about those 3 things as well, because something I've noticed is how they are also very alike to 3 certain characters. Well, yeah, characters from Ocarina of Time as well. You've got Valoo, very similar to Volvagia.
Yes.
And obviously I can't help but feel that Valoo maybe Valoo is descended from Volvagia, since Child Link doesn't grow up to defeat Volvagia again.
Exactly, he doesn't.
And the Deku Tree, it could be the Deku Shrub as well. The Deku Shrub from
Ocarina
Kokiri Woods.
Yeah, the Deku Tree sprout, correct.
since we don't know how long a Deku Tree lives. And as for obviously what was his name? Jaban.
Jaban. Yes, Jaban.
Yeah, it's similar to Jabu Jabu. So maybe because we also don't know where Jabu Jabu went. So maybe it's a descendant of Jabu Jabu as well.
Exactly. And one thing to point out real quick, just super quick. One thing to point out real quick is when you talk to Jaban, the theme that's actually played is actually of a remix to Inside Jabu Jabu's Belly from Ocarina of Time.
I didn't know that.
It is.
Yep.
But carry on.
Wait, really?
Yeah. So when you talk to Jaban, Landy, where he talks to the hero winds and the King of Red Lions, he's in translation is saying like, this is not the hero of time. He's not connected to him, but I see that this one definitely has a lot of potential. But the theme that plays, it is definitely an orchestrated remix of Inside Jabu Jabu's Belly from Ocarina of Time.
Oh, that's sick.
Oh yeah, and it's like what you said about them, like saying like, oh yeah, he wasn't the hero of time, like it's actually funny because 2 out of the 3 spirits, like 2 out of the 3 deities, actually met the hero of time. They actually knew the hero of time.
Exactly.
And it adds into the whole like, yeah, you're not him, and the fact that Wind Waker is obviously after Ocarina of Time, it adds precedence to it. I can't say the word properly.
Precedent, yeah. We get what you were saying. Yeah. And honestly, these 3 deities, they definitely do have a lot of connections. Like what you were saying, Bahamut, like Valu definitely being having a probably like a long ancestor, like Valu being like an ancestor, a long descendant of Volvagia, which of course that was of course. Child Link actually did not get to face him, but Adult Link actually did. And of course, from there, the hero wins is definitely getting the Din's Pearl. Same with the Great Deku Tree in the Wind Waker. He's gifted, the Pearl, Farore's Pearl. And same with Jaban, with Neighbor's Pearl. So all these characters together, these 3 deities, they definitely share a connection. Valu, power. Great Deku Tree, courage. And Jaban, wisdom. All 3 of them definitely share a strong connection with one another.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's like trees as well. Trees could be a sign of courage as well because they stand mightily. They don't fall easily. They stand tall mightily. So
exactly,
it definitely fits in.
Exactly, and honestly, go ahead, Landy.
I was just gonna say too, with sort of symbolism that like the tree provides shade, hero shade. In a sense, this idea that like you're a giver, right? Like the old children's book, like the Giving Tree. I've always associated a tree with just something that gives. It gives selflessly, and it's like also that sort of idea that like the men who plant trees will never live to see the day it bears fruit. There's something beautiful about that too, where like I feel like that's a hero's arc as well. Is again we see it with the hero of time. He saves Hyrule, but he never gets to bear the fruit of being that hero. Nobody remembers him. Again, we've been over that, but I don't know. That I see that connection being made too.
Yeah, it definitely is it definitely makes a lot of strong connections, but it's a good thing that even the King of Red Lions confirms it. The 3 deities the 3 different characters, the 3 deities I confirm is that one thing they knew, that we know in particular, they knew who the hero of time was, and just by looking at this new Link, who is not blood related or not connected to him, they can state that this Link definitely had a lot of potential and the same courage that the hero of time actually once had. And honestly, when you do think about it, there definitely is a lot of connection, with both the Forest Haven and the Forbidden Woods. There definitely is a strong connection with the Kokiri Forest, such as like the Deku Tree Sprout being there. And when you enter the Forbidden Woods dungeon, like the symbols you guys see on the doors, that's the same symbol that the hero of time actually had on his Deku Shield. Which of course we all know the Deku, which of course y'all remember the Deku Shield. It's said in the description that it's made from the same bark of the Great Deku Tree, and even the little houses, like the little houses that we see in the Forbidden Woods dungeon, they definitely share a lot of similarities and connections to the homes that the hero of time actually once remembered, like the place where the hero wins actually finds the big key in order to get to the dungeon to the dungeon boss's room. It's definitely Asaria's house. You know, you can see like the door, the little spiral stairway that leads to the top, just like in Kokiri Forest, to where the Hero of Time, you know, the Hero of Time definitely can go up and go cross that little bridge. Like, there's definitely a little strong connection there.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
something that Landy obviously said earlier as well about, you know, like the Hero of Time not wanting to be a hero, he just wanted to do what was right. Like, it's the same like what you said as well. Like, they didn't see him as a hero, but they see his potential. Like,
Exactly.
Link, the hero of Winds just wanted to protect his family. He wasn't trying to be a hero. He just wanted to look out for his sister. And that's an important thing as well, because even though he didn't want to be a hero, he still stepped up. He started out from a humble goal of just wanting to save his sister, realizing, okay, I need to make sure to protect the rest of the, you know, no one else can do it but me, because I need to show the courage that other people are not able to show, you know, and I think it's a really great thing.
Absolutely. It definitely is a really, really great thing. And I'm sure all of us can agree here, right?
Yep. I also love that similarity that the hero wins a hero of time had. Neither of them wanted to be a hero. They stepped up to the plate anyway.
Exactly. And fate just chose them to act so quickly, you know, at such a young age, you know? Because like with these roles that they had to, you know, with these roles that they had, you know, these are just roles that they fulfilled. You know, the Hero of Time, you know, this is well, of course, you know, going back to episode 3 of my podcast, like Landy said, the Hero of Time, this wasn't the Hero of Time is not a role. It was a role, you know, that he didn't get to pick. It was a role that he fulfilled, and the sages, they chose him to do it.
Yep.
Exactly. So,
Full of Star Wars. You were the chosen one.
Yeah, there's that's funny. We spoke about the Hero Shade earlier as well. There's actually something that I've been thinking about as well.
yeah, sure, absolutely.
Now, obviously, he teaches Link these skills like the Mortal Draw, the Finishing Blow, but he always tells Link to use the skills wisely. And I can't help but think back to I'm being a bit massive nerd here. A line I heard in Lord of the Rings that I heard Gandalf say: "True courage is not knowing when to take a life, but when to spare it." And the Hero Shade telling the Hero of Twilight to use the skills wisely, I can't help but feel that that's him saying, use the skills when you have the courage to use the skills when you must, not when you should, but when you must, like when you have no choice. You know, I think that really is a test to his courage as well.
Oh, absolutely. Like, honestly, you know, it definitely is something a lot to talk about. And it's a really deep topic to think about, you know, with the Hero Shade being to pass it on to his descendant, saying, you know, like, you know, as long as you know, it's going back to the one of the quotes that I said, which is this again: a sword wields no strength unless the hand that holds it has courage. Remember those words. Like, there's something very deep about that quote. Like, it's extremely deep.
It's like I said earlier as well, you know, courage can also be knowing when to show kindness as well. That also could add to it as well, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
The hand that wields a sword, you know, should know when to sheath it out of kindness and when to draw it out of need.
Exactly.
You know,
go ahead, Sora.
That actually just made me think of something. Okay. At first, this is probably going to seem like it has nothing to do with it, but hear me out. A few years ago, there was actually this big billboard in my area that was displayed, and on this billboard, it showed a man, specifically a father, holding his little baby boy in his arms. And the sign said in big bold words, "Are you tough enough to be gentle?"
I like where this is going.
Yep. That same principle can apply to that same courage. Do you have the courage to be gentle enough to spare a life?
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. What is your take on? Yeah. Go ahead, Bahamut.
Sorry, I was about to add to what Sora said. I was about to say, yeah, because it's like, you can easily just power through things and just use brute force. But yeah, it takes, again, it's like I said, like me and Tora just said, it takes kindness to be gentle, to know when not to take a life, to know when brute force is not needed. You need a delicate touch.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your thoughts on that, Landy, in terms of the hero of time's courage that he had?
Well, I think they're both 100% right. And I think if you wanted to take that a step further, it's the fact that, and this goes into the lore with Demise and everything from Skyward Sword, but it's like, you're not going to kill Ganondorf because he's despair incarnate, Alice incarnate, and something like that cannot be rid of the world. You can't rid the world of something like that. So you need to have the courage to seal something like that away and trust that a future generation will handle that problem when that seal inevitably breaks. And you see this all over, especially Eastern media. The idea that malevolence, you can't defeat it. You can't strike a sword through it and now evil is gone. No, you can only seal it away for a time being. Whether you're looking at FF10 and Sin, whether you're looking at Dragon Ball and King Piccolo, you see this kind of thing everywhere where the solution isn't that you can kill this thing, because it's like, go ahead. It's like the head of the Cerberus. You cut off one head, great. 10 more heads are coming now that you've done that. I think true courage is not taking the easy way out and just saying, okay, let me strike Ganondorf down and kill him. No, you have to take that a step further. You have to seal him away and have the courage that your successor will rise to the occasion.
Yeah, and if I may add to that as well.
Yes.
It's like, and you notice in the games as well, we never actually look for a way to destroy Ganondorf once and for all. It's always just to stop Ganondorf. So it's like as if Link knows that there's no point trying to kill him because he is going to keep coming back. So the best he can do is just do what he can, and then pass the torch on.
Yeah, exactly. So where I think you're getting at, Bahamut, and I definitely like to throw this out there to you guys. Like, in terms of, like, the hero of time and the other links out there, I feel like, to me, like, this whole task to where, like, like, a hero takes on, like, a different villain, whether it be Ganondorf or definitely another villain, like, maybe, like Vati, for example, even though he does need to come back in another game, just saying. But, I feel like, to me, like, this is, like, a big game to the golden goddesses of Hyrule. They definitely find this to be entertaining. So it's like, okay, one hero is gone, so we're going to look for another hero who's definitely going to take on this task, this responsibility, this role that they're going to fulfill in order to take up the sword and to rise and to be like the next person, like, to challenge the opponent. Pretty much saying, like, do you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely is a lot, because, like, honestly, this is, to me, it's like a game to the golden goddesses, like okay, this hero time has vanished from the adult timeline. Let's see, yeah, I see this kid here. Yeah, as soon as he becomes of age, we're gonna make sure that his grandmother gives him the green garb, and, like, even though he's not connected, and Ganondorf has, like, broken free from his imprisonment, this is gonna be the next successor. This person is going to be the next one to rise up and take on the evil king. He's our next who's going to challenge Ganondorf into a fight. Or this is going to be the next hero who's going to take on Vati. This is the hero who's going to take on General Onyx from Oracle Ages, or the Sorceress Varan from Oracle. General Onyx from Season. Why did I say Ages? Varan is Ages. Sorry. I know I've disappointed some Oracle fans out here. I'm sorry.
Good.
Wow,
but I think you guys know where I'm getting at with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely.
And it's like, sorry.
No, you're first. I wasn't taking a sip of water.
I was just gonna say, one thing I noticed as well is that in all those games, there's always a hint of Ganon or Ganondorf's power. Like, there's always some influence he has that connects him to the villains as well, which also showcases, like, how he is like the enemy that just keeps coming back. Like, he's always there in the shadows.
Exactly. He's always coming back. Whether it be Ganon or Ganondorf, or Vati, for instance. There's always is a villain that's always coming back. Like, honestly, like, one example I could throw out there, like, take the first Zelda game, for example. the hero of Hyrule defeats Ganon in the fight. Of course, Ganon completely obliterated. He's dead. And so Link and Princess Zelda obtain the Triforce of Power and the Triforce of Wisdom. And then, of course, later on, in that game, we find out that later on, Zelda's father, the king, is the one who actually hid the Triforce of Courage to prevent Ganon from getting his grasp on it. But the game definitely carries on to Zelda 2. Again, we don't talk about it. You know I am anyway. This game,
Wait, Zelda 2 existed? What?
I know, right? How crazy.
Yeah, right?
But honestly, it definitely carries on that tradition, the game going on saying like all of Ganon's minions are on the rise to kill Link because their leader died and they need the hero of Hyrule's blood in order to resurrect him. So again, putting all of this together, this is like a little game, a setup by the golden goddesses as as a form of their entertainment.
It's definitely a good way to look at it, because obviously we don't know much about the goddesses. Like, we obviously know they created Hyrule.
Yeah.
But we don't know, like, their thought processes, their motivations, like, all that goes on with the Zelda series. It could just be, like, the machinations of some game between them, and the humans and races of Hyrule could just be, like, the pawns on the chessboard, if you will.
Oh, exactly. And then one thing I actually do want to talk about super quick is, Link, this hero time, he definitely had a lot of friends. He had a lot of enemies, but there is one character I want to talk about real quick, and I would like your thoughts on this. So, I know Landy talked about the love for this character, and he knows what I'm about to say right now. So, I want to know when your personal thoughts from start to end of Ocarina of Time. Even though, this guy actually really bullied the heck out of him and all that stuff and treated the hero time like dirt, do you guys think that somewhere deep down inside, Mito actually cared about Link? Because we all know, despite with him bullying him and him, being completely jealous of Link spending time with Saria, even though we all know that Mito had a crush on her. But in the end, we can see, at the end of the game, we can see, when he's sitting right next to King Zora, he looks so depressed. He looks to me I feel like he's got a lot of regret for the way how he treated Link. And I think, and someone correct me out there, isn't there a piece of dialogue when Link is an adult saying when Link is adult to where Mito says, "I hope he comes back," or something like that? Somebody correct me on that.
There it is.
I can confirm that's in the game.
Okay, cool. So I want y'all's thoughts of it. Do you guys truly believe that Mito actually, despite of everything that he's done, how much that he treated the hero time like dirt, do you think that Mito really cared about him?
I think...
Honestly, sorry, Sora.
Oh, you're good. You first.
You go for it.
All I was gonna say was, I think the only real reason he was such a bully to Link in the first place is because of that jealousy. I think as a whole he liked him, and as a friend and whatnot. But because of his jealousy for him spending so much time with Saria and everything, it kind of drove him to the point of wanting to basically belittle him to make himself feel better.
Yeah. I definitely do agree with that. Go ahead what you were going to say, Bahamut.
Well, what I was going to say is a good example of how we could look at it is Naruto and Sasuke from obviously Naruto.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
They constantly argue. They constantly are trying to better each other, trying to one-up each other. But through that, they form a friendship, become best friends. And I think it's the same for Mito and Link. They're constantly battling for Sora's attention. They're constantly being competitive with each other. Mito bullies Link. But through that, they at least have, a friendship. Even if Mito doesn't want to admit it until Link's an adult. There is still that friendship that when Mito just thinks, you know what, I can't see my life without this guy. He has a place in my heart as a friend.
He's got a lot of regret for the way how Mito treated him.
And it's like what you said about him, being sad in your Ocarina of Time as well. It's it also adds on the fact as well. Obviously, Saria as a sage can't return to Hyrule. She cannot be among the Kokiri anymore. And Mito, knowing that he won't see Link again, it adds to his his sadness, because he the two people that he saw as his greatest friends he will never see again, and it definitely adds to the whole, he regrets,
Yeah.
like, not just bullying Link, but regrets not saying to Link, you are my friend,
Yeah.
and I think it really makes me hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And not too many people really cared about Mito, because like everyone, like the house of twin, like all the sisters, all the twins, the know-it-all brothers, the kid who runs the shop, everybody knew exactly what Mito was like. Everyone knew that Mito was a bully. Getting all these kids to like do all this work for him, like saying like, oh, like, I had to lift rocks right by Mito's house because Mito told me to. Oh, I gotta cut Saria's grass because Mito told me to, even though he said, oh, I promised Saria that I was gonna do it so I can impress her. But no, I'm just gonna get this other loser to do it for me. So and I'm just gonna say, yeah, I did it. I totally did it. That was all me. These losers, they didn't do nothing. This is why I'm the boss. I get to do what I want.
Yeah. Also, kind of adding on to what Bahamut just said, I'm gonna add it one step further.
Yes, go ahead.
It's also not just that he knows he won't get to see Link or Saria again. It's also the fact that he never even got to apologize to Link.
Exactly.
And one of the reasons I say that is because when he's talking to Link as an adult, not even knowing who he's talking to, there is one line in particular he says, and that line is, "If you see him, tell him I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Yes, I remember. I remember that. I do remember that correctly. And one piece of dialogue that I actually wanted to add on to that, Sora, is when adult Link actually plays Saria's song, and Mito says, and I quote, "That song, Saria used to play that all the time. Do you know her? Do you know Saria?"
Mm-hmm.
It's like Mito has that suspicion that the man before him is Link, but he doesn't want to entertain it.
Exactly. Okay, so I want to hear from the man himself who actually really likes this character. I gotta hear from you, Landy. Your thoughts on all this. Do you think Mito really, somewhere deep down, despite that everything that he's done, did you think he really cared about the hero of time? This young hero of time? And just at the end, just regrets it?
At first, no. At first, he sees him as the outcast. He sees him as the outlier. He sees him as a threat. Honestly, that's just kind of human nature, especially for, say, children, right? Children always, they bully the outcast, or they find the outlier, or they want to establish bottom of the totem pole. That said, I think he grew to care for Link because, one, Link's disappearance was followed by Saria's, and I think that by association, he grew to care. He almost felt nostalgic, right? You couldn't have Link without Saria. To have Saria around was to have Link around. That aside, I think ultimately, and the reason why I like Mito, is because, a big theme in Ocarina of Time is growing up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Kokiri kids, they can't grow up, right? It's almost like a play on the whole Peter Pan thing. It's no accident that they wear those outfits. They can't grow up, and that's actually kind of a tragedy. And what I think is interesting is Link is this outlier. He leaves, he grows up. You come back to a Mito that has grown, not externally but internally, and it almost seems as Link just becomes this in a sense, and Mito almost transcends being a Kokiri because he's growing up. He feels regret. That's a big part of growing up.
It really is.
And he feels sorrow for what he did. And I love that about him because no other Kokiri really goes through that experience.
Yeah, and it's like he learns that he can't grow up with Saria and Link now, and that makes it even more sad for him because two people who could have helped him grow up even more and mature and see the realities of the world, and he can't interact with them anymore. They're just gone.
Exactly. And one thing I actually do want to point out, even though this is not canon, in the Ocarina of Time manga, so in the first volume of the Ocarina of Time manga, after the Great Deku Tree meets his demise, tasking the hero of time to go out to Hyrule to go fulfill his destiny. There is one thing that I actually picked up on to where, you know, the rest of the Kokiri are worried about Link. They know that he's gonna leave the forest. So this ties into Mito, to where he starts crying. He starts crying when Link actually leaves. He's crying, like holding the Kokiri sword, and just says, he's crying. He's like, you know what? Just take it. Just take it. And just take it.
I remember.
And get out of here. Just take it.
I remember that.
But he's hurt. He's crying and he's yelling at him, just saying, just take the sword and get out of here. Get. But
yeah, it's like I remember that scene. I remember that scene as well. And it's like, it's like Mito is obviously tries to act tough. Likes to act tough and that. And him, he could have just said to Link, "Here, take the sword. I'm gonna miss you," or something like that. You know, I believe in you. Instead, he goes, "No, get out, just get out." You know, like he's tough to make because he doesn't want to break down. He knows that it's a tough it seems like he knows it's a tough situation. It's gonna stay tough no matter how he slices it. So he's just saying, like, go, get out, you know, go.
Yeah,
it's forceful.
Yeah, we can definitely see, like, at the, you know, even in the start of the manga, you know, like, you know, they always got into fights, so where even Link actually one-upped him in the beginning. But there is one thing I actually wanted to point out in that manga is when Link is an adult. So after he defeats Phantom Ganon, he retrieves the Forest Medallion from Saria, he leaves the woods. There is one thing that I actually want to talk about, is the line that Mito says when adult Link says goodbye to the Kokiri kids. We can see that he's shedding a tear, and he says this, you know, just seeing that guy, the way how he fights, he kind of and with Link and with Mito looking at this, not only is he shedding a tear, but something that we don't see very often, he's smiling, and he says, you know what, the way how that guy fought, this guy reminds me a lot like Link.
Yeah, like something I would like to add to that as well is there's also obviously the one of the side stories at the end of the manga as well. Like when they do that play.
Yes.
Now obviously, like Mito tries to play a prank on Link and hide his mask, but then even after they get the mask back, Link isn't angry with Mito. He isn't angry. He doesn't want to get revenge. He lets Mito have the starring role in the play as the hero, even though all the Kokiri chose it. He chose to let Mito be it because he felt that Mito needed it. Mito deserved it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that speaks volumes to their bond that they share and don't want to acknowledge.
Exactly. But honestly, I think we can all agree from, you know, counting both the manga and the game of Ocarina of Time that Mito somewhere, he cared about Link, even though at times, you know, at first, you know, he's not going to admit it. He's going to be in complete denial because all that jealousy just got through his head. But somewhere deep down, you know, like Sora was saying with the quote, you know, if you see him, tell the hero of time, or tell Link I said, I'm sorry. But anyway, I think we pretty much covered about everything that we know about the hero of time, the tragedy of him and his lifestyle. I think we've covered a lot of things briefly. Or was there something else that we missed?
I don't think there's anything we missed.
Not that I can think of.
Do y'all have any add-ons y'all want to talk about?
Not that I can think of. I think we have covered everything.
Yeah. Sora?
No, I think we've covered everything.
Landy, what about you?
I feel pretty good about what we covered.
Nice. Well, anyway, I feel like we covered a lot of things, but we can say, like, this Hero of Time has been through a lot in comparison to all the other Links out there, especially in comparison to the new guy, the Hero of the Wild. This one has been through a lot. But he's definitely is the most iconic out of all of them.
Yeah, and like it's like as well for like time is usually seen as something that is incredibly hard to influence or even mess with or even affect. And the Hero of Time manages to do that, something that no other Link has been able to do. And I think that speaks a lot for the impact that the Hero of Time's had on the series.
Absolutely. And honestly, like every other Link, seemed to carry on his tradition in spirit, being able to inherit that courage just like the Hero of Time had, back when he was alive. But yeah, I think we pretty much covered everything here so far. So first of all, I want to say thank you guys so much for being here. Thank y'all everybody for tuning in, and thanks to all my 3 friendos who joined in as well.
It was an honor to be here, buddy. It was an honor. It was an honor to join you for this.
Yeah. See, Bahamut, I told you. See, Bahamut, I told you were gonna do good. Even Sora, and I knew, right, Sora?
Exactly.
So anyway, y'all, I always want to say thank y'all so much for tuning in to this episode of the podcast. Thank you so much again for 5 episodes. That's crazy. We're already at 5. But thank you guys for always tuning in. And if you guys are watching this on YouTube, please don't forget to do the following by liking, sharing, subscribing, all the good jazz. Please tell your friends, but most importantly, come say hi to me on Twitch. Come say hi to me on Twitch. I go by the same name, Born of Kokiri. I stream every Monday to Thursday at 7 p.m. But also, go follow my friends on Twitch under their names. Sor850, the Landy Lodge, Dark Bahamut 9. Please definitely go follow my friends. Definitely go follow them. So,
and most of all, go and follow this hero, Kokiri.
Oh, y'all are too kind. Thank you. I do my best. So anyway, I'm going to reveal to you guys what the next episode is going to be for the month of July. So starting next month, in the month of July, on July 3rd, let's go ahead and come back next month on July 3rd. As next month, I'm going to be gathering as many Twilight Princess fans I know out there, because we are going to be talking about the Usurper King himself, Zant. It's going to be all about him. So there's going to be a lot of people. There's going to be quite a few people in here. I'm going to be gathering the Twilight Princess fans that I know, to where we're going to talk about the Twilight King Zant. So be sure to stay tuned for that one in the month of July.
So what you're saying is I'm gonna have to run through Twilight Princess again before this next podcast. Good to know.
Yes, get to work, Sora. This is your home. This is your homework.
I better do some more. I better do some more research on Zant then, even though Twilight Princess is my favorite game.
Yes, yes, yeah. Absolutely though. But honestly, I think we can agree, of course, that Zant, he's a pretty good villain, and honestly, I cannot wait to talk about him. I think it's gonna be a great one, you guys. It's gonna be great. But anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys so much for coming out here. Thank you, Sora. Thank you, Bahamut. Thank you, Landy. For being here. You guys are incredible.
Of course.
No, thank you for having us on here.
Oh, absolutely.
It was an honor, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was an honor.
But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoy yourself. Enjoy the rest of your day. And if you're watching this in the future on YouTube, enjoy the rest of your day, afternoon, night. And if it's your birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday. If you're watching this on your birthday. So, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Have a great night. Take care. And we will see you next time. Take care.